So after all those stress testings, I finally have all the details about the new Warframe REVENANT. I will try to be as comprehensive as possible in this video, giving you all there is to know about REVENANT, from his abilities, to how his abilities synergies with each other, up to some tips and tricks on how you can utilize this new Eidolon Warframe to its full potential. So, let us begin this video. First, let's discuss all his abilities. So his first ability is called Enthrall, aka Make 4 Enemies Dumb. His second is called Mesmer Skin, which is basically Rhino's iron skin ripoff. His third ability is called Reeve, which basically turns you into a cloud while traveling in a forward motion, leeching enemies' health and shield when they are hit. And his last ability is called Danse Macabre, plain and simple, the new spin to win in the game. So, let's take a closer look at each abilities, starting with Enthrall. We can compare his first ability to Nike's Chaos ability. The only difference is, it's limited to just 4 enemies. Yes, the number of thralls are not affected by any mods, and you can only turn a maximum of 4 enemies. However, how long the thrall debuff is on the enemy is affected by duration mods, while the cast range is affected by range mods. The casting animation is quite slow in my opinion, and if you don't like this, then you can add natural talent or speed drift on your build. Now once a thrall died, they will leave behind some sort of energy pillar which last for about 10 seconds. These pillars does deal puncture damage, and it's affected by power strength mods, as well as the effect radius and duration are affected by range and durations mods respectively. Enthrall can be useful in various ways, like, it's pretty handy in getting rid of the aggro state of the enemies. Somehow, enemies focus fire on those enthralled enemies, leaving you room to escape or kill them. But the best part of this ability is that it can even convert ancient healers as your allies. And yes, once you've enthralled these units, you will have their damage reduction buff and as well as the knockdown immunity buff. In addition, enemies like leech units can also be converted to thrall, and the best part is, they will not drain your energy anymore once they become enthralled. The only enemy that can't be enthralled are those nullifiers, as once they pop their bubbles, the debuff will be gone. By the way, before we proceed to any ability synergy, I will try to discuss first each abilities. So, let's proceed now with his second ability, Mesmer Skin. I may have said that Mesmer Skin is a Rhino Iron Skin ripoff, but it really doesn't work that way. It has a relatively low charges than Rhino's Iron Skin, and, instead of absorbing damage, it reflects incoming attacks, and attackers receive the full damage and status effects. Aside from that, the enemies will be stunned for a couple of seconds. The number of charges is affected by power strength, the stun duration is affected by duration mods, while its casting speed is affected by natural talent and speed drift. Like his first ability, the casting animation of Mesmer Skin is quite slow, and if you find it annoying, then you can add natural talent or speed drift on your build. One thing you should know while using this ability is that, it does not reflect damage dealt by status effects and objects created by enemies like those napalm flame patches. Also, instead of a knockdown effect, from enemies like those shockwave mows, it will be converted to knockback. And lastly, damage from hook shots done by scorpions or ancient healers will be reflected back to them, but still, you will get dragged by their hook. Now for his third ability, Reeve is pretty straightforward. You rush on an enemy in a forward motion, then you leech shield and health to those enemies hit. The width and as well as the energy or health restore are not affected by any mods, but the dash duration, or how long you can dash, is affected by duration mods. And lastly, its casting animation are affected by natural talent and speed drift. REVENANT cannot change directions during the dash, with exception to Danse Macabre. Also, casting speed becomes instantaneous and allows limited steering with the movement keys during the dash. In addition, Reeve does not restore shield points to REVENANT if enemies do not possess shields. Lastly, Reeve can be manually cancelled by pressing the ability key again during the dash. Now let's proceed to his fourth and final ability, Danse Macabre. Danse Macabre is one of those press for to win abilities. It's pretty insane, and so far, I can say that this is the best ability of Revenant right now. When cast, Revenant turns into a spinning Beyblade that are dispersing a total of 9 energy beams to damage all enemies caught in it. These energy beams damage are affected by ability strength, its range is affected by range mods, while the casting speed and rotation speed are affected by natural talent and speed drift. However, the number of energy beams, and as well as the sweep area, are not affected by any mods at all. One good thing about this ability is that it has innate punch through, which only means that you can hit enemies even behind obstacles. However, energy beams cannot hit enemies standing above Revenant's left arm due to the oscillation pattern. Also, this ability has this feature to store a total damage pool, and then transfer it to each beams to serve as additional DPS. So basically, the more the enemy hit you, the more damage you store, and the more DPS your Danse Macabre will have. In addition, if you press the fire button, Danse Macabre will have increased damage, additional 40% status chance, and additional beam radius. However, the energy drain will increase by 25 energy per seconds. Lastly, each energy beams coming from Danse Macabre adapt their damage type to the attributes of the enemies that are hit. Basically, it will deal corrosive damage against armored enemies, magnetic against shielded enemies, and gas against enemies with infested flesh. Now that we are done with the nitty-gritty details of each abilities, let's proceed to ability synergies. There are a couple of synergies that Revenant can use with his abilities. One is that his Mesmer Skin synergies with his Enthrall ability. Once an enemy is stunned by your Mesmer Skin, you can then cast your Enthrall to the target, which will cost no energy at all. Also, Enthrall synergies really well with your Reeve ability. Once you hit enthralled enemies, Reeve's shield and health drain, restore percentages increase to 40%. By the way, I almost forgot, Reeve does deal damage to those enemies hit by this ability, and this ability does deal additional damage to those enthralled enemies. In addition, Reeve can be cast and cancelled during Danse Macabre. Casting speed becomes instantaneous and allows limited steering with the movement keys during the dash. And lastly, enthralled enemies killed by Danse Macabre drop a unique pickup that grants 50 overshields when collected by Revenant or his allies. If we sum it up, we can say that Enthrall is some sort of soft crowd control and also gives bonus damage to your other abilities. Your Mesmer Skin is a form of survivability. Your Reeve is some sort of way to heal yourself, and as well as move around efficiently while you are using your Danse Macabre, while Danse Macabre is your strongest DPS ability. So, now that you have all the information about Revenant's abilities, let us proceed to how I build this Warframe. So based from all those tests, I really find this build good for Revenant. It has max efficiency with lots of power strength. I did choose to build my Revenant this way for two reasons: Mesmer Skin and Danse Macabre. Lots of power strength will give me more charges for my Mesmer Skin, which I find really helpful when it comes to survivability. In addition, it also increases the damage dealt by Danse Macabre, so it's really a good choice in my honest opinion. Now, Vitality is a personal preference and you can replace it with Redirection if you find Shield more beneficial to Revenant. I would replace Vitality for Redirection if only those overshields pick up from Enthrall and Danse Macabre combo are reliable. But the thing is, it's not that reliable honestly. You're way better using Reeve to restore both your shield and health than rely on those overshields. The downside of this build are its medium range and low to no duration. But seriously, you don't really need range for your Danse Macabre, as you can use your Reeve ability to move faster while you are spinning and killing. In addition, you may see the low duration as a serious problem for this build, but I tell you now, it's not. If you are worried that you can't take advantage of that first and second ability synergy, wherein it will cost you no energy to cast Enthrall, then don't, as this build is pretty efficient as you can see. But that's not the only build that I find really good for Revenant. I also have a fun build variation which includes the Rage and Quick Thinking mods. Now, Rage and as well as Hunter Adrenaline mod can restore your energy while you are using Danse Macabre. This is one way to keep spinning with your fourth ability aside from Energy Orbs, Arcane Energize and Orokin Void Death Orb. By the way, Trinity's Energy Vampire doesn't work with Danse Macabre in case you are wondering. So anyway, this build does give you infinite energy and spin time with your Danse Macabre if you utilize your ability well. When you are using your fourth ability, you will restore energy when enemies hit you. quick thinking is there, so that you will have extra survivability by using your energy whenever you take some serious damage, and you may use your REVE to restore your lost health, and then begin to get more energy again from rage. Lastly, you can also utilize Revenant's passive ability with this build, as when your shield deplete, enemies will get knocked down, allowing another crowd control to happen. This build would probably give you endless loop of restoring energy and spinning if done correctly. However, this build is not exclusive for your third and fourth ability, because as you can see, you can also both use Enthrall and Mesmer Skin in the mix. The choice is really up to you in the end on how you will play Revenant, and you can either follow my build, or make it a reference to make your own. Overall, Revenant is a pretty solid frame. Mesmer Skin and Danse Macabre are probably his best abilities in my honest opinion, but this doesn't mean that Enthrall and Reve are worthless. They are both beneficial actually for Revenant, as you have seen on my demos. The only thing you need to do is learn how to play this Warframe, and you will see how awesome this new sentient powerhouse is. My only hope is that you have learned something from this video, and I have provided you all the information you need to start enjoying Revenant. So that's it. Before you leave, please do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more Warframe videos. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.